Ever since devices and apps offering full encryption became popular with consumers, governments around the world have attempted to pass laws forcing companies to break encryption or build backdoors into their products. That way, law enforcement agencies will be able to collect data, including the contents of encrypted phones and chat apps that might be relevant for investigations. Yeah, right. And those initiatives remained unsuccessful, and devices and apps that offer end-to-end encryption continues to provide strong protection to users. They lie. Now, the Indian government has proposed a different tracking method that doesn't involve breaking the end-to-end encrypted text. And officials want Facebook to tag each separate WhatsApp message so that it can be traced back to the original sender in case a crime is committed. Yet more word salad to get around the system to spy. The CIA and their Five Eyes to Nine Eyes conglomerate break and access encryption all day, every day. Why? Because the CIA and NSA, along with GCHQ, created it that way. Every single encryption has backdoors created by that group. And they only share with governments details that suits their own agendas. That is what's going on. Here comes stupidity again. There was a viral campaign this week for over $1,000 custom Satan sneakers. Ooh. And for a mere $1,018, some 666 lucky Americans will be able to buy Satan shoes, a devil-theme modification of Nike's 1997 Air Max sneakers, which was launched this week and eventually shut down, courtesy of a lawsuit by Nike. But the air bubble inside will be filled with red ink and also 1 drop of human blood. Launched predictably in New York by a group called MSCHF, Mischief, and some rapper no one has heard of, which reveals it is a distraction story. But it boggles the mind the lengths people will go to cause sensation. Anyway, Nike have decided it's too much like their shoes and sued the company and have blocked it, which has caused concern amongst some of the purchasers. Joseph Rash of Tennessee paid $1,080 for a pair of sneakers and says he is worried the conflict means his money will be lost. No, Mr. Rash, you lost your sanity for purchasing them in the first place. I'm sure your children and grandchildren will be so proud of you buying satanic shoes with human blood in. Not. Just as we predicted many months back, New York will soon introduce the Excelsior Pass, a card which proves you have taken a COVID-19 techno jab or have a recent negative test in order to enter events and businesses. And what that means is, for those who get it, you have achieved the Milgram cattle stamp number. And they said it's similar to a mobile airline boarding pass. The individuals will be able to either print out their pass or store it on their not-so-smart phones using the Excelsior Pass wallet app, according to a press release this week. So it went from Z papers, please, to Z phones, please. And businesses and venues will be able to scan a unique code for each passport and see the COVID-19 history of the person in front of them, which is actually a total invasion of your privacy. Now, the app will reportedly not show detailed medical history, lies, but rather just a simple message that you are or are not vaccinated or have not been recently tested. On the app, it will likely say, "I have followed all orders," or "This person is a radical thinker and dangerous to society." The individual's data is kept secure and confidential at all times, according to the news release. Surely you jest. Now, Madison Square Garden and the Times Union Centre are already set to begin using the app in the coming days. On April 2nd, the app will then expand to smaller venues in the state. Corrupt Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is facing a number of personal and professional controversies at the moment, celebrated the Excelsior Pass as the first of its kind. I wonder, will Cuomo have an app with guilty or not guilty on it? Perhaps that'll be a useful thing. Now, Excelsior means fine wood shavings, used for stuffing or packing. Fitting, if you ask me. Wood shaving for packing people with wooden heads. And all this is a copy of the Israeli passport. And whilst some don't like me making that comment, and some don't like other people making a comment, although I haven't made this comment yet, is there any wonder why some people are calling New York Jew York? It's a direct copy. Senator Ted Cruz said on Sunday cartel members are renting children in distressed countries in Central America and bringing them to the US border, helping to fuel a humanitarian, health and national security crisis. And in an interview, he said, "We are seeing an instance of more and more young males arriving with kids. And when those kids are DNA tested against those males, many of those males are not related to those kids," he said. And what the cartels are doing is they understand the weakness and the loopholes in the Biden administration's policy. And if a young adult male, possibly a criminal, possibly a gang member, if they want to come into the country, all they have to do is to bring a child. And according to Cruz, the cartel members are renting kids, renting babies, and renting little children. Many of those kids are then physically abused or sexually abused, and they are seeing the kids then coming in multiple times with multiple different adults, he stated. There's nothing humane about what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are doing at the border. They are subjecting kids to horrific abuse. They're endangering their lives in a pandemic by keeping them locked up in cages right on top of each other, and then they're releasing illegal aliens in the United States that are testing positive for COVID at a rate 7 times higher than the US population. And he said this is a humanitarian crisis, it is a health crisis, and it's also a national security crisis. It's just a pity he didn't mention the rental and abuse of kids is related to the DNC. And just as we forecast would happen, and backs up the warnings I gave to the southern border states of what is taking place there. Now, those sites of which Biden is going to increase their numbers by another 15,000 beds cost the American taxpayers $775 per child per day. $775 per child per day. And you'll be intrigued to know these centres are not being ran by and large by health authorities, as large portions of them are ran by private contractors, which means the CIA in most cases, one of which it is speculated to be connected to a life force assembly state group. Weeks after its own truth-finding commission uncovered at least 10,000 victims of clerical sex abuse going back 70 years, senior French bishops have agreed to award lump sum payments to victims to take responsibility, citing the need to take responsibility with regards to the past, the present and the future. The French Catholic Church on Friday agreed to award an undisclosed amount as financial contribution to the thousands of victims of clerical sex abuse. Now, the announcement was made at a video press conference after the annual spring meeting of the French Bishops' Conference in Lourdes, which ended on Friday. Church officials said that they wanted to recognise its responsibility to society by asking forgiveness for these crimes and shortcomings. And in recent weeks, the need for action had heightened after the Independent Commission on Sexual Abuse in the Church, which is a church-funded investigatory body, estimated that the French Catholic clergy could have abused at least 10,000 children and other vulnerable individuals since 1950. The president of that group, Jean-Marc Sauvé, had said at the time that it had already received 6,500 testimonies concerning as many as 3,000 different victims, and he expected the number to rise as more victims came forward based on the number of calls to a hotline set up for those who suffered and other witnesses. The Catholic Church is an energy-harvesting sex cult, and I don't care who I offend over that. That is the reality. That uses followers for their own gain. And it's high time that society in general saw it that way also. These are not messengers of God. They are disciples of death, evil, and satanic worshipping. And no, it's not isolated cases either. Everywhere they are, this shit happens. And the pleasing thing is the increase now in these types of atrocities being outed now and brought into the light. For too long, these demons have hidden in the dark. No more. London's Metropolitan Police has announced it has opened investigations into alleged sexual abuse in British schools after more than 5,800 incidents were reported to an online platform, Everyone's Invited. Now, officers have been reviewing anonymous testimonies posted on the website, which collected evidence about misogyny, harassment, abuse and assault in UK schools, and to establish whether any of the victims could be encouraged to actually report the crime to law enforcement, the Met Police said in a statement on Friday. And the Met added that it had already received some reports on specific offences currently under investigation. Now, officers also contacted certain schools named in some of the anonymous testimonies to offer support to potential victims. And on Friday, the department held some detailed meetings on the issue. Now, the site's founder told the BBC earlier that the collected testimonies expose a rape culture and the scale of violence against young people in the UK. Rape, harassment, sexual and otherwise, violence, drug abuse in our schools. And it takes an online blog to expose it. Where are the teachers and headmasters or principals in these incidents? One has to ask. Continuing the theme of children, that's 2. This is the 3rd. California is now making children worship Aztec gods of human sacrifice. Of course, they say the devil's in the details. Such as making elementary school children invoke Aztec gods to empower them as warriors for social justice. And among them is the so-called revolutionary spirit, Huitzilopochtli, the deity of war and sun and the recipient of thousands of human sacrifices. Now, modern woke narratives paint the Aztecs as oppressed peoples of colour who fell victim to the white oppressors in the form of the Spanish conquistadors, papering over inconvenient facts, such as that the Aztecs slaughtered other Mesoamerican peoples to make their Tower of Skulls. Oops. And also ignoring the fact that a lot of those Hispanics from Spain were actually Sephardic Jews, like Columbus. 4 very separate stories there. And yet all 4 show the systematic target of abuse against the children. Thankfully, more and more of this stuff is now being outed, which is a good thing.